Microsoft.
I mean, so it's on paper, it's essentially the same system that Sony has for all of their stuff now. But of course, people are kind of giving them a hard time since it seems reactionary.
It's the same.
The pricing might be different.
I have with the reversal of the whole DRM thing. It's good that it happened. I won't give them shit for doing a 180 and all that kind of thing, but I'm not going to forget what the original plan was. And I'm not going to forget that someone who's prepared to do something, can easily do it again in future, even if they capitulate.
I think that's absolutely possible. And, I mean, even as Microsoft had, in this last generation been described as sort of the indie-friendly of the console manufacturers.
Crazy to think about now.
That has not borne out necessarily to be the case in the view of a lot of indies. And there are some out there. You have your James Silvas, who were very successful with Microsoft and have done quite well and have no problem with that relationship. And that you have some of your other smaller developers who really just had a miserable experience there. And it's hard to tell whether or not, opening this up in this way and being so forthcoming is just more of, hey, we're the good indie guys, remember us, when, we're fucking some of your friends.
I mean, I feel like XBLA was instrumental for the indie game scene in the last, 5-6 years. It brought that scene to consoles, but then at some point it felt like Microsoft stopped giving a damn. And you've seen that. Just look at the Summer of Arcades in the last couple of years; they've really gone downhill. But if they really are taking this to heart and following even Nintendo's example, Sony's example, that's going to be a crucial part of the Xbox One.
Well, I mean, Microsoft seems to have given up on games in general. It's still doing some. It'll still churn out some Gears of Wars and some...
A new Fable got announced.
But yeah, it looks like the past 2 years they just stopped giving a shit, probably because they were just forward-looking and thinking about the Xbox One. And obviously we've got some interesting announcements for the Xbox One now. Microsoft been very good at throwing their money at the problem of exclusivity. So the story on the Tuesday, at least, was a lot of, this is exclusive, this has exclusive DLC, just a continuation of a lot of what we've seen this generation. Microsoft does seem to be giving a tiny bit more of a shit about games again now that it's got a new system to sell them on. So I don't think it was just a problem of indies. It was a problem all across the board. If it wasn't something they could marry Connect to, if it wasn't sports, Microsoft didn't give a shit. And we still see some of that with the Xbox One, because it does look like they're still trying to sell all the functionality of a smart TV, with the inconvenience of not just turning on your smart TV with the Xbox One. But at least we're seeing a lot more game stuff now, so it's a bit more promising. I'm still not 100% gung-ho behind the Xbox One at the moment, but at least it's got my attention. At least we're having a conversation about it now.
I can see myself getting it eventually and not... whereas at some point that wasn't the case.
Yeah, there was definitely a period of time where I was like, I can't even support a company that would make these kinds of poor decisions. And now they've softened their position. I've softened my position.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
I'm more comfortable with the idea of making that purchase at some point, as opposed to feeling obligated to do it because that's going to be necessary to continue to do my job. That's nice, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, at least you don't feel like some sort of hypocrite for considering the possibility of maybe buying the system. Which is a step forward. It's a positive step forward. At the end of the day, I hope the Xbox One's good. Just like I hope the PS4's good. Just like I hope the Wii U does okay.
You're clinging to a lot of hope there.
My big takeaway from Sony's stuff...
Can we not talk about Sony?
We haven't talked about Sony
Let's not talk about Sony and talk about Cerny.
Cerny. Oh, God, I love his voice.
Beautiful Cerny. Mark Cerny. wonderful Care Bear man who will make everything okay. He will come to your house and you'll open it and he'll say, "Oh, hi. I heard you're feeling down." And then I just smile and say, "Not anymore, Mark. Not anymore."
He really is our industry's Bob Ross. If not more of a Bob Ross than Bob Ross ever was. The Vita, the $200 price point, every indie game you ever heard of and loved is coming to it. I mean, I'm ready.
Showing, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy that the memory cards for the PS Vita are coming down in price.
A little bit.
Fucking last. Probably not down by enough, and shouldn't even have proprietary fucking memory cards, but it's something, I guess.
Well, now that the 3DS has really started taking off in a sales and library perspective, the $200 price point for Vita is really competitive.
For what you're getting in the hardware, especially.
Absolutely.
It's a nice piece of technology.
I mean, especially if they're pushing, getting shit like Borderlands 2 on there, and the Arkham Origins thing, and
right.
A whole bunch of indie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those big games don't...
That
doesn't interest me so much on the Vita. Like, anything... So the Vita, to me, is the system that I play for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And, at a go. And that's fine. Or when I'm going somewhere, or when I'm doing something. And I don't want something that complex. But...
I just finished the campaign for Killzone Mercenary. I can't really talk about it much. I'm gonna, a little bit. Tell Mark Cerny, because I don't want him to be mad at me. But, I love you, Mark. But, that really ignited a need for me to have more console-like games on the PS Vita. Because that finally friggin' nailed it. But yeah, I'm excited about where the Vita is. I want more stuff. I want more Killzone type stuff. I really don't want it to be a case of every 6 months something interesting comes, and if it's good, great, but if it's bad, you're fucked for another half a year.
Well, and everything looks good on that device. Everything looks good.
Yeah.
It
makes it look better somehow, almost magically.
Boy,
it's hard to explain if you haven't seen it.
An impetus to buy an OLED television.
That's it, yeah.
Get your hands on a Vita and play with that for 20 minutes, and you'll have every justification you'll ever need.
Well, the good thing with some of these is you said Jim was mentioning crossplay, but cross-buy as well. You get it on console, you get it on all of them.
Well, I'm just thinking of the massive amount of value that the Vita has for me now as a longtime PS Plus subscriber, because,
oh, yeah.
I'm downloading those Vita games. It's not like I'm just letting them sit there by the wayside.
You're claiming them, right.
Something that I'm at least going to be interested in. I'm claiming it. So I already have a library of titles that I buy a Vita, and I'm set for months. And with the constant drip of stuff they're putting out through that subscription, will I need to buy games? I don't even know.
Not.
It's stunning. The more successful all of the consoles are, the more it demonstrates that the audience is growing, the more that there's a demand for greater product offerings, and an increased competition between the parties who stand to benefit the most from it. Success only will bring more success for this business.
Yeah. Well, it's 50-50 depending on which companies are involved. Either success will bring more success, or success will bring companies trying to copy the success by cloning everything and expecting the exact same amount of money to be made. Because big publishers are weird dinosaurs that don't understand the world around them, and that's why they get extinct. But generally, having healthy consoles and a lot of successful consoles is better than having none and unsuccessful consoles.
I'd almost rather have no successful consoles than just one.
Interesting. There's a lot of developers and publishers, I feel, would like one console.
I think gamers would like one console also.
I've heard that.
I think that they would like that as well. And I think if it were the PC, which was so easy to develop for, so open to development, that's a great thing. But if it's a home console device...
You don't think of that when you think of consoles at all.
That's a totally different matter, and it opens up an opportunity to reduce competition, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily a good thing. Now, if it were just a matter of software companies competing with each other to make stuff work, if I thought that was realistically the way it would go down, that'd be one thing. But a console manufacturer acts as a gatekeeper, and they get to be the arbiters of what sells on their product and what doesn't. And unless you can create a truly open platform that anybody can develop and publish to and promote and sell products effectively on, it's just not going to work. And the consoles haven't borne themselves out as being that yet.
I mean, with the PS4 and the Xbox One both taking on more and more properties of what a PC is, I think we're heading towards this sort of uniformity to where maybe one day it'll just make sense for Sony and Microsoft to basically put out the same console, but with their own brands on it.
Well, I think it would be really fascinating to see video game consoles go the direction of DVD players and Blu-ray players, to where anybody could manufacture the hardware. You could, institute a couple of additional features or whatever, but make it a standard.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would rather see them go the whole DVD player, Blu-ray player route, and I kind of like that.
Well, and it used to be, to a certain extent, it was like that early on.
It was.
With the Atari 2600, that was endlessly cloned. And adapters were made, and they weren't, I guess, as proprietary with that tech as they needed to be to keep control over it, and that was the lesson learned. The market got diluted by all of these sort of knockoff alternatives. Atari wound up suffering. They were trying to make all their money off of licensing. The game sucked, the sales dropped, and they were screwed. So it's hard to tell what the best way to go
Well,
is.
having multiple consoles doesn't seem to be stopping a lot of the stuff that led to that happening now. So
yeah.
Well, with that kind of system, we'd move away from this generational shift because it would be incremental.
Yeah.
There would always be someone coming out with a new model.
Yep.
But
it would be constant, and that's even might even be worse.
That'd be scary as a consumer.
And for us trying to cover it.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
Can you imagine trying to cover a new console every 2-3 months?
I don't want to.
Didn't think about that. I'll change my mind now. Glazed it on the cash.
We've thought through it and we retract.
Yeah, I didn't ask for this.